Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. I hope you're having a beautiful day and welcome to the Polyhedra Show. So, today is a community show. This is one of my favorites. We get to shape the entire show around talking points and questions, 100% submitted by you, our epic community. There were over 800 submissions here. So, I hope I've picked some of the most pertinent. And of course, joining me today is our Chief Strategy Officer. I like to call him the question master himself, Eric Vreeland. How are you going, Eric?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful morning here. And I've been looking through the questions. Did I break the record? Is 800 the record? Because I know
We
our
have had
audience.
more, but these were some of the most diverse for sure.
Yeah, a lot
It
of
was,
good topics here. I'm really excited about it.
yeah, absolutely. So am I. And Eric, this is the first time we've done a community show together, which is super, super cool. I think that I get to talk to you all the time, which is, awesome. But I think that this is a great chance. And, you being the question master, knowing the minds of our community so well, I think this is a great chance to hit you with some questions, man.
I hope
So,
there's
yeah,
some hardballs in here, but yeah, I hope that they surprise me because that'll be exciting.
absolutely. Absolutely. Just to get things kicked off, there were a few questions, around recent events. So how was ETH Denver? Like in context of, current market conditions, these constantly evolving announcements. What was the vibe like? Were there any standout moments?
Yeah, I think the market has been a little bit unpredictable, and that can definitely take some of the excitement away. But I think what you see when you get the sort of market conditions that we're seeing now is that people get really excited about the technology and the opportunity and really um, focus on what they're building and what they're enabling and start to think more on a long-term horizon. And so I actually think that the quality of some of the conversations that I was having at ETH Denver, the topics that we were that people were excited about were really exciting, and it's really kind of getting back to the technology and what are we trying to enable here. And I think AI was obviously still very prevalent. It was very exciting to see some of the discussion around the importance of improving trust and safety around AI, teams starting to think about, verifiable AI and how to enable that. I think another area that was really top of mind were RWAs, which, is great for us because of a lot of the work that we're doing around interoperability and private transactions. So there was a lot of alignment between the themes that people see as high leverage for the future and what we're building. And then just the quality of all the teams building with ZK was incredibly high. We had our own little event on one of the first nights at ETH Denver, and I met with about 50 different builders building really, really cool ZK solutions, and all of them were excited to learn more about Expander and the GKR protocol and some of the performance benchmarks that we're seeing that are really like people do kind of a double take when they hear how fast Expander is and want to learn
Right.
more and how to build with it. So all in all, I think it was a really a good event. I think that if you're just in it, to be a trader and worried about market sentiment, then you might not have had the best time. But if you're really excited about decentralization and the technology that we're building, I think it was great.
Absolutely. That's really exciting to hear. And yeah, you're right. Like getting to work in this field is obviously super exciting. And I've felt the same sentiment recently, even just within our own community and that recent events I've attended. So I'm feeling that's going to very much be the sentiment, at least for the next quarter. Like who knows what's going to happen with the market, but like I think it's getting like it seems to be snowballing a little bit, so it is very, very exciting. So getting back, okay, so these community questions, I think a good place to start, Eric, is a little bit of background on you. We've had a few questions come through of, obviously you've been such a pillar for Polyhedra. And we've had so many people, join our community that may have seen you like asking a lot of the questions, but may not know a whole bunch about your background. And you've been in Web3 for a while. So what's been, I guess, the biggest shift that you've witnessed since you started?
I just think, early on, we were really focused on building out the infrastructure to enable a lot of the use cases that we saw in the future, whether it was bringing, RWAs on chain or enabling verifiable AI. There were building blocks and infrastructure that needed to be created to enable those use cases. And so this idea, everyone wanted to see the next billion users on chain. And, there had been a lot of comparisons of blockchain with the internet. But if you look at the actual kind of growth curves of both of those stacked on top of each other, it's not like we're orders of magnitude off. I think, where blockchain is lagging a little bit behind the internet, but these things take time to build, and it doesn't just happen overnight. And so we needed to spend a lot of time building out this infrastructure layer so that we could actually now start to kind of focus on the application layer and building out applications that, users or institutions find valuable and that solve real world problems for them. And so I do think, there continues to be heavy investment into infrastructure, but we are starting to see some really exciting applications being built, and those applications are attracting new users to the blockchain. They're attracting new enterprises and institutions to the blockchain. So I think it's just a little bit more diversity in kind of what is being built. And yeah, maybe we're just like a little bit closer to kind of focusing on, solving these real world problems.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, the promise of the internet, like, making that comparison was very much what we're building now, like the decentralized, open, secure and free. And it's almost like had to have the evolution kind of needed to kind of pan out the way it did. So it makes a lot of sense, that we are spending more time and yeah, we're not orders of magnitude off, but we're spending more time building this infrastructure to make sure that it's done right, and it is exciting that that's, going off what you've just said, that like now we're seeing these next layers coming on top of it. It's a very exciting time, for veterans like yourself who have been in the trenches, and then for people who are now coming on, this is the real exciting time,
And I think the barrier to entry has just gone down, right? I mean, one, because of AI, because we've seen AI been able to increase the efficiency of engineers substantially, in Web3 and Web2, but also, the documentation, the developer tooling, all of these things that you need to build a robust developer ecosystem are improving over time. And so I think that the barrier to entry for a developer who does not have Web3 experience to come online and build something on the blockchain is a lot less. And there's also a lot more examples of, what has been successful, what are the mistakes that have been made. So we're starting to get to the point where, I always say kind of when I joined Web3 that I like the idea of being able to write the playbook, because there wasn't one that existed. And so it enabled you to kind of think creatively and really get down to kind of first principles when you're approaching a problem. But, now honestly, the industry has matured enough where we are starting to see some playbooks, and whether you should follow them or not, I'll leave that to you. But
yeah,
at least there is some historical data to look at and to understand, what has worked and what glaring mistakes were made so that you can avoid them, you're not just like completely in trial and error mode.
Right, exactly. Standing on the shoulders of giants, as they say, like a lot of the mistakes have been made, and now, yeah, the barrier to entry is, as you've said, it's significantly lower, which is, it's going to be exciting to see what comes next and how quickly, yeah, this all moves. This does tie in actually to a question, one of the questions from the community, which is, from the original vision of Web3, like full decentralization is, I guess it could be, category specific, but do you think the original vision of Web3, which was full decentralization, is still alive, or are we moving to this more hybrid model?
Yeah, I might argue with you that I don't know if full decentralization was ever the goal. I think,
right,
there's always going to be a place for centralized solutions make sense. Let's use the example of the internet here, since we're kind of talking about that previously.
Right.
Is email significantly more efficient than using snail mail or the postal service? Yes. But are there times when sending a letter is preferred over using email? Yeah. So I think similarly, we're going to see a massive migration to decentralized tech, because I do think that there are significant advantages in most use cases. But are there going to be specific situations where a centralized solution is preferred? Sure. So I do think that there's going to be a world where both exist. I do think that, we're going to have a shift where the majority are decentralized, but there will still be room for some centralized solutions.
Absolutely, yeah. That makes total sense. So I guess, yeah, on that same vein, as an industry, Web3 has gone through cycles of hype and dips. Where do you think we are right now? Are we at that stage of real adoption?
So, I mean, yes, I do think we're seeing more and more signals that point to, real adoption across the board. I think, as an industry matures, you're going to see a dampening of these cycles. So a lot of talk has been around these 4-year cycles, this bull market and bear market. And honestly, if you are on crypto Twitter right now, you might be confused, because some people are saying, we're still in the bull. Some people are saying we're at the beginning of the bear. I don't think we're going to see this strict delineation, or that there will continue to be such drastic differences between the bull and the bear markets. I think we're reaching a level of maturity as an industry where the infrastructure is there, the use cases are there. And so while from a price action standpoint, we may be in a bear market, that doesn't mean that progress isn't going to be made as far as adoption is concerned. And so at Polyhedra, we're building for the long term. I mentioned this earlier. We believe AI is a part of life and will continue to be, and we need solutions to improve trust and security of these AI systems. And that doesn't change whether you're in a bull or a bear market. And so in the future, every AI interaction is going to be verifiable, whether that happens in, a couple of years or whether that happens in 10 years. It doesn't change our approach to, putting a ton of resources towards building these solutions, toward making it easier for developers to utilize them and build the best possible solution to provide verifiable for AI. And that's really what we're focused on now.
Yeah, absolutely. I find myself looking at everything now through this sphere of like verifiability and AI. Man, I saw like one of those memes today where like someone's bought like a toolkit from Temu or something, and they've sent like just like an A4 printed out document. But it did make me think, like, there's so much fallibility in human action, and there's almost like when we're talking about agentic layers and AI, performing multi actions, say for a business or whatever that is, at any point there could be so many points of fallibility, right? Like, so I was just thinking, like, if you were to tell your AI agent, it just made me think, like, if you're a builder and it's like you tell your AI agent, who is your ops AI agent, like, can you reduce my budget, and then you get sent this, this Temu. I just think that there's so many.
Well, first of all, someone has to explain to me, like, what's the deal with Temu and how does it exist and how do they make money? Because I've seen a lot of conspiracy theories on the internet. But yes, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. Like we're seeing AI being applied all over the places, in HR and healthcare and supply chain. And most of the time, we wouldn't be paying for these products if they weren't doing their job. And I think for the most part, we want to assume that there won't be any issues. Similar to, our first product, ZK Bridge. For the most part, you want to bridge your assets and you don't really think about security because you just assume if I bridge these assets from one chain to another chain, they're going to get there. You don't really think about security until it's too late. And that's kind of the same, thing we're going to see with AI. Most of the time it's going to be fine. It's going to make suggestions for your, like you said, if we're using this operations use case for decreasing your spend or increasing your runway. And, they're going to be actions that if you take that are going to work. And, if you allow it to operate autonomously, it's going to do a relatively good job. But every once in a while, there's going to be an issue. And whether that's because the data the model was trained on was biased or it was manipulated, or if there was an issue with the AI model execution, it can have some really catastrophic events. And so it's one of those things where, you don't want to think about it when it's too late. You need to think about it before it's too late. And that's why we're out here speaking about verifiable AI so much, is because we want to educate the market and have them understand the importance of verifiability and think about how they can integrate it into their solutions as a preventative measure instead of, thinking about it when it's too late.
Absolutely. Yeah. Agreed. And it does make so much sense. And like, obviously, we talk about these big impacts, like large scale issues, because they are the most visceral, right? Because it's like, okay, as I've heard you say so many times, the stakes are so high, and that that makes so much sense. And I have, just like I said, I've been looking at it through this sphere lately. Like, I know you've got beyond your technical background, I know that you've also got like a marketing background as well. And it got me thinking, like, if you just have the wrong data from the outset in terms of, who your target audience is or what the demographics are, and you make an assumption, and then, you take that down the funnel, like, you could just end up in the complete wrong place, and that's just like, yeah, that's a waste of time and resources, but it's also a waste of money, and when you stack those things up, they really do add up, So just being able to validate and verify along the way would be so helpful,
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'll talk about this kind of from a marketing lens, but for a very long time, marketers were kind of measured on, the number of leads that they could generate and the cost per lead that cost. And, a lot of teams were talking about how they were data driven and really looking into their performance and had KPIs for their marketing teams. Over time, people started to realize, well, this may not be the correct measurement of marketing performance, because sure, you can generate a ton of leads. We've all been playing games on our phone and accidentally clicked a button and submitted a form by accident. And now we're a lead in their system. Are we actually going to buy their product? No. And so then we started to say, okay, well, what other data can we look at? Can we look at, qualified opportunity? Can we look at, should marketing start to think lower in the funnel and actually think about, revenue generated or closed won deals? And I think that we did improve our marketing performance over time. And so similarly, yeah, I mean, I think anytime you have access to, more data, more information, more transparency around a particular, aspect of your business, you're going to be able to make more informed decisions. And so I think, to tie that back to AI, right now it is a very, it's very much a black box. You put in an input, you get an output. You have no idea how that was calculated. You have no idea, what data this model was trained on. You don't even in certain instances have verification that the model you expected to use was actually used to generate this output. And so with ZKML and with verifiable AI, we're adding this transparency, and in such a way that, you know, the creators of the models or the users don't have to worry about, you know, leaking sensitive data to the other party.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when there's so many points down the line, you know, like that. And when they are your clients from that marketing sphere, it's like, that's, you know, that's their IP, that's their data. So you, as the impetus is, it's on you to be protecting that, you know, and that's why we use these trusted sources, whatever SaaS model that is. You know, if you're saying you're using one thing and then you're using another, that, you know, is open to breaches, you know, people probably won't be happy about that.
No, so absolutely not.
Yeah. So being very open and clear about that and being able to prove that, you know, is very, very important. But it is interesting seeing all these granular, you know, I think we're going to see so many use cases and like you've said, like solving these problems before they become problems, you know, is the key, because at the end of the day, it does come down to revenue. These are people's livelihoods. Like this is the economy, and we want to protect that as well. So yeah, just a lot of pieces, and it's interesting to see how it's all evolving, and these conversations are all really starting to spark up.
I read an interesting article on kind of AI mistakes the other day, and I think one of the pieces of data that really stood out to me was, you know, they analyzed a bunch of kind of AI errors at public companies, and on average, you know, these AI mistakes would cost a company between, you know, around 0.5% of their market cap, which if you're talking about these, you know, companies that are valued at hundreds of millions of dollars or even billions of dollars, that is a huge amount of money that can be tied back to like one single AI issue. And again, like it doesn't happen to every company, but if it does happen to you, it could be catastrophic. And so how do we just improve the guardrails so that you can prevent this from happening to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And especially when you have, you know, different functions talking to different teams within an organization, like you have that's like one single error that you're talking about. When you have multiple links and as these, you know, frameworks build out, that just opens it up to, you know, I guess multiple angles of intrusion or fallibility, you know, and just like there's human fallibility, but it's like, well, you know, but who's like, if somebody makes a mistake, then somebody's made a mistake, you know, like you can like kind of hone in on that. But then if you have all of these AIs, like how are you, if it's in a black box, how are you figuring that out? If you don't know who your employees are, I guess, like how are you figuring out where it went wrong?
Yeah, I mean, with people, right? You usually have some visibility into communications. You usually have processes for approvals and double checking to make sure that there aren't errors throughout, you know, a process, especially for decisions that are involving huge amounts of money. And with AI, for the most part, in its current state, those checks and balances or those current processes that we're using can't be used because of the black box nature of AI. And so we have to come up with a new framework for putting these safety checks in place. And that's where verifiable AI comes in.
Absolutely. So I guess that does lead on to this next segment I wanted to chat about, which is kind of gearing back towards Polyhedra. Obviously, we are, you know, we're leading ZK technology. And I know you have a very granular understanding of this as well. What excites you most about how ZK is evolving?
I think it's just the overall performance improvements that we're seeing that are accelerating at an astronomical rate. So 10 years ago, zero knowledge was almost completely theoretical. And then 3 years ago, we started to see ZK being used for some very specific use cases. And, teams started building ZK rollups. And now they're starting to come online. And then today, we're seeing performance improvements due to, improvements at the foundational level, to the algorithms, to the proof systems. And we're also seeing that on the hardware side with hardware acceleration, GPU acceleration. And when we combine both of these, we're seeing an exponential increase in the benchmarks and the performance of ZK proofs. And because of that, we're substantially increasing the addressable use cases for ZK. And that's really exciting. That's really exciting to me.
Yeah, very, very exciting to me too. Me too, man. Like, given that now we've hit these benchmarks, and I've heard you talk about this a lot, and it is something that makes it's very exciting for me too. What are the barriers to ZK adoption now? Now that we've hit these milestones, is it education? How do you see that?
Yeah, I think you're the answer, Oracle, because you just kind of saw where I was going to go with this. But I do think it's on the education front. I think as an industry, we need to do a better job of educating engineers on how to utilize ZK. There needs to be better developer tooling, documentation, SDKs for implementing ZK at the application level. There's still a trade-off between performance and ease of use. So there's some really great teams building ZK VMs, and we're working with a lot of them, which are extremely easy to use. But the difference in performance gains between ZK VMs and building circuits from scratch is huge. And so what we're doing at Polyhedra, one is we're trying to work with these, all of these popular ZK VMs on implementing Xpander into their ZK VM so that we can see the ZK VM performance increase exponentially. But what we're also doing is we're working hard to make it easier for developers to utilize Xpander directly. So we have the Xpander compiler collection. We have ZK PyTorch. We're putting out developer-focused content and improving our documentation. And I think we just have to keep working towards making it incredibly simple for developers to utilize ZK for whatever use case they're trying to work for.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and can't stress that enough. How the access that's now available and the ease of use, it's all on the table. And again, it's just a matter of education. I did see one of the questions from the community was directed at me about what's been my favorite as acting in the engagement piece, what's been my favorite. And it's definitely moments like this, it is this show. It is my favorite time of the week. And just quickly, thank you, Eric, for picking up. I couldn't attend last week, for taking over the hosting of the show. I do appreciate it. I was a bit upset that I couldn't join with the weather issues. But
no, yeah, I'm glad you got through it, and I enjoyed kind of doing my best Jimmy Fallon impression and being the host of the show for 1 week. So thanks for giving me that opportunity.
Yeah, man, you nailed it. You obviously do a lot of this kind of podcasts and stuff. So yeah, all over it. But it is this education and getting to listen to yourself talking to people, and then also talking to you now is definitely in terms of engagement. I think it's valuable for me, but I think that our community and really appreciates it too, and getting to hear from great minds that know the field so well.
Absolutely. And I have a couple times hopped in the Discord and done some Q&A via text, so maybe we can spin back up those sessions. I think that those have been really helpful for me to kind of really get a good pulse for the community, and it is fun just to kind of get in the trenches with the community and and go back and forth with them. So, you just reminded me that was something I wanted to bring up. Maybe we can get back to those live Q&A text sessions in the Discord.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's do it. I know that like a lot of the community would be super stoked to be hearing that, and kudos to the community as well for bringing always all the great questions and so much engagement. It's always we love it, and I hope that so far we've addressed some of the best questions. A lot of them were around these same kind of categories, so have kind of tried to distill that a little bit. There were a few, because of these categories that we talk about, finance, healthcare, governance, a lot of questions about these specifically. So I guess would really love just to get your opinion on do you see ZKML becoming the standard for AI regulation in these industries?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if it's going to be something that's required by law, but I do think what we'll see is that there will be AI models that are verifiable and there will be AI models that aren't. And as a user, why would you prefer the latter over the former? In a free market, the superior solution is going to win out. And so I think what we're going to see, even without regulation or some formal way of kind of making models become verifiable, is we're going to see a shift to verifiable AI. And I think it's going to be very fast. Like you were mentioning some of these use cases, finance and healthcare. Would you trust a financial advisor with your money if they didn't give you clear reporting on how they were deploying it? Or would you trust a doctor with life-altering diagnosis or some sort of treatment without seeing the test results that they were basing this diagnosis on?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you wouldn't, right? So why would someone trust an AI output without confirming, the model authenticity, without confirming the data it was trained on wasn't biased or manipulated? And so that's why we're focusing so much of our resources on ZKML, ZK PyTorch, EXP Chain, and all of these tools, is because, very soon, if your model and your AI application is not verifiable, you're going to get left in the dust. And we want to be the solution that kind of brings this to the world.
Absolutely. I was chatting to my family about this and trying to, break down these concepts for them at dinner last night. I have a few family members who are in the medical industry and medical practitioners. And, you've seen these startups that are popping up where they do the full body scans, for example. And,
Mm-hmm.
and that can provide so much data, and it can bring down costs. It can enable medical practitioners to massively increase their output and their ability to help people, and I was kind of saying like, look, it's not like the need for practitioners is going to go away. You're just going to be massively empowered, but you need to make sure that you're getting the right results to do that. And they totally got it. They're like, absolutely. If I can take, all of these scans, multiple scans, and have this verified data come through, that can do it a lot more quickly and actually more accurately than I can, then, that's what I want. It's, but then to in order to then take that from step A to like a treatment plan or whatever it is, knowing that is absolutely rock solid is very, very important,
Yeah, if you're gonna see a 10x improvement in efficiency, you're gonna want to adopt this technology. But if you're gonna see a 10x improvement in efficiency, but also there's a 1% chance of like a catastrophic error, that's probably gonna prevent you from using it because you just can't take that risk. And so where we need to get to as as a industry is a place where we are still benefiting from this efficiency boost, but we are protecting ourselves from these catastrophic events.
Absolutely agreed. Absolutely agreed. Very, very good point. So I guess you did already touch on this before, but a lot of questions like in this vein around, ZK PyTorch. How is it making it easier for developers? GPU acceleration. Maybe you can drill down on this just a little bit more and share a bit more of these insights that you've got.
Sure, absolutely. On the ZK PyTorch, it goes back to what we're saying, right? We just want to make it as easy as possible for developers to leverage ZKML. And in this case, if you're a machine learning engineer, you're already using PyTorch, you can easily, leverage this ZKML framework without any change to your developer pipeline. So if you're using PyTorch, now you can use ZK PyTorch, and you've enabled verifiability with very little friction, very minimal overhead. And then on the GPU acceleration part, again, this is something that developers that are using Polyhedra products are going to benefit from without really having to do anything. I mean, we're doing a lot of research. We're putting a lot of resources into figuring out how do we take advantage of kind of this parallel computation enabled by GPUs, and how do we help that to create extremely performant ZKML that will eventually be able to create proofs in real time, so that you do an inference and you get a ZK proof right along with that inference. And, this is technology that we're going to make accessible, and we're going to, hopefully give it to developers in a way that they can utilize it with minimal disruption to their existing workflow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's super exciting. Hey? It's just like plug and play solution. I'm not a developer, but I can definitely see the value, like how much value that brings, especially because it's not like just an afterthought. Like you can just build it from the ground up. Like is pretty impressive. We do have. I'm just a bit wary of the time, Eric, because I know that you've also got a busy day. We did have a lot of. I know there's so many different topics that we haven't touched on. I think we're going to definitely have to do another episode on this. So I might just try and pick out like a couple of ones.
Sure. And yeah, happy to hop back on sometime soon. I think that these topics have been super interesting. Again, thanks to the community for submitting all these questions. I know we probably went over 8 of the 800 questions so far, but it seems like there's an appetite for these topics and these questions. So we can definitely do it again very soon.
Yeah. And I think the text AMA, like you mentioned, will be very, very powerful, and may allow us to get to a few more than the 1% that we managed to, sphere off in different directions from. Let's have a look here. Maybe we can quickly touch on. Let's talk about the future roadmap for Polyhedra, because I know that everybody loves to hear about this, and I love getting your perspective on this. So, everything Polyhedra is moving so fast. What's next on the roadmap that excites you the most?
Yeah, well, I think we have our EXP chain testnet upgrade that just went live. Really excited about the progress that we're making on EXP chain. And so obviously we're working very hard on kind of getting that ready for a mainnet launch. And again, there's a bunch of functionality enabled with EXP chain that is going to be, beneficial to just anyone building on the blockchain, from expanded proof of stake to single slot finality to native ZK bridge integration, support for extremely cheap and fast ZK proof generation. So I'm really excited about what we're doing on the EXP chain front, especially if you're an AI builder. Get in touch with us and let's talk about how we can help with your project, and especially if you're looking to launch over the next few months. And then beyond that, it's going to be a lot of this work on ZKML and verifiable AI. So, there's a lot of interest in AI models, AI agents. We're working with a ton of great partners. And if you tune in on Thursdays, you'll probably see me on the Thursday show with some of those partners coming up over the next few weeks.
That's tomorrow, Eric. We're back.
Tomorrow I'm back. So if you didn't get enough of me today, you can get me tomorrow. But like I said, our end goal is that all AI will be verifiable. And so we're starting with kind of, where there's interest now, which is LLMs and AI agents. We're working with partners that are building, the top solutions in these verticals, and that have alignment with us, that understand the importance of verifiability and, want to be ahead of the curve in those areas. And once these solutions are built, we want to make them easily discoverable. So, coming up with a place where if you're a user, we can have a place for you to go to know that every model here, every agent here has implemented ZKML, is verifiable. If you utilize it, you can get a ZK proof and verify that proof and kind of add transparency and trust to those interactions with AI. And then at the same time, the benefit of that from our to our partners is that they have, access to the Polyhedra community to kind of get the word out and show their alignment with this future and our kind of shared vision for a verifiable AI future.
Yeah, absolutely. And like our community absolutely gets around all of our partners, and because they know that they can trust them, and on the ecosystem front, as you've said, definitely get in touch with us, because we do have a lot of exciting projects come in. And I guess one of the really exciting things for me about working in emerging tech is like that feeling of getting to see the future being built in real time. And I think that being an infrastructure project as well, we're super lucky because we do have these amazing projects coming into our ecosystem all the time, and like getting to work with them and understanding what they're doing. It's super fun, and it's super inspiring to see like what everyone's doing out there. So yeah, if you are thinking about building anything or want to join the community, like hit us up. I know like Sam likes to say, we're 24/7, 7 days a week. Like, so we're always here to talk. We're always open and available. So definitely, definitely hit us up and let's chat.
Yeah.
Man,
what do the cool kids say? DMs are open, right?
DMs are open. Yeah. Exactly. All right, man. We've covered a lot today. We've gone through a lot, but I think there's more. There's definitely more that we can go through. So, like you said, we'll revert back and do this again. We'll definitely get those text AMAs up. I think that's a really, really great idea. And yeah, man, I'll be seeing you tomorrow for our next ecosystem show.
Absolutely. Really exciting ecosystem show tomorrow. I think we got about 1,000 viewers in here right now. So again, thanks to the community for tuning in. If you found this interesting, share it. The recording will be available. Again, if you want to talk about any of the topics that we chatted about today, shoot us a DM or message us in the Discord. We'd love to chat.
Absolutely. And thanks again, community, for all the great questions. Hope we got to a fair few of them. But we'll be back, and have a great day. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
See ya.